Two self-centered and heartless parents showed no remorse when they chose to cherish one of their daughters and reject the other. Years later, though, they came to regret not being more affectionate with their first daughter. Lisa's early years served as a continual reminder of her haphazard life. Her parents have seen her as a nuisance and a hindrance to their meticulously planned lives since the day she was born. She had been an accidental child, conceived only weeks after graduating from university. They had a life plan, but being pregnant at such a young age was not part of that plan. Could they have revised their plan to include their daughter, Lisa? Yes, but they were too self-centered and selfish to take such action. While they managed to acquire respectable employment and create a stable existence in a wonderful big home, their hatred against Lisa persisted. The two parents considered her as a big bother and a disturbance to their joyful life. They would frequently talk about how their lives would have been so much better if they had not had to care for a baby. They could have worked or done something more productive with their leisure time instead of putting up with a child they never wanted. Because they loved their granddaughter so much, Lisa's parents would frequently volunteer to watch her for the day. Even in their latter years, they enjoyed showing her love and care, and they couldn't understand why her parents treated her with such hate. Lisa's grandparents, who were eager to ensure her happiness, gave in to all of her wants and made her feel loved and appreciated, bringing brief periods of happiness into her early years. However, as much as they desired to care for her continually, their senior age limited their capacity to do so. Regrettably, they had no choice but to send Lisa back to her bleak and loveless household. In order to limit any encounters that they had with their daughter, the parents hired the nanny to care for Lisa. They did this so they could also continue pursuing their jobs and developing their own life objectives that seemed to center around a world where they didn't have a small child to take care of. Even when they were at home, they would hardly give her the attention or love she deserved, instead leaving everything to the nanny, who would be happy to take care of Lisa's every need. To be truthful, aside from her grandparents, the nanny was the only person who gave her love and kindness. However, she could never fully replace Lisa's longing for parental love, even with her tender care. As she grew older, her parents' apathy only became worse. Her parents became devoted and caring when her sister, Veronica, arrived as a result of the second pregnancy, which had been carefully planned and undoubtedly desired. Their treatment of their second child differed greatly from that of their first daughter. Veronica was lavished with attention, material things, and every chance conceivable. The changes were like night and day, and it did not go unnoticed by Lisa, who, while only being 5 years old at the time, was a very perceptive and bright young girl. Deep emotional wounds were caused by the sharp contrast between the torture she endured and the admiration Veronica enjoyed. The sudden death of Lisa's grandparents, whom she had come to depend on for affection, warmth, and respect, only made matters worse. Every time she saw them, they offered her steadfast love and support, serving as the cornerstones of her existence. Lisa's already challenging life took a heartbreaking turn when her cherished grandparents passed away, making her feel even more alone and powerless. Now that they were gone, she was forced to rely on her sister and parents to provide her the love and care she so much needed. But regrettably, they continued to act in the same way toward her. Despite being disregarded and mistreated, Lisa found solace and fortitude in her innate humility and generosity. She found a strong inner ability to recover despite having a difficult background. Lisa put a lot of effort into her studies, tackling challenges head-on, and she excelled academically. Her remarkable mind and unflinching will served as a powerful shield against the suffering her family inflicted upon her. Lisa could get lost in her studies and focus on something other than her sadness that her parents did not accept her. With persistent passion and a strong thirst for knowledge, Lisa relentlessly pursued her education, spending endless hours on her schoolwork. Eventually, she achieved something she was incredibly proud of. She graduated from university with an exceptional degree. Her incredible achievements demonstrated that even the most trying circumstances can be conquered with perseverance and an unbreakable spirit. Of course, her feat was not appreciated by her sister or parents. As Lisa started her work in a distant place, her parents showed no interest in her successes and goals. In fact, they appeared to be rather pleased to see her leave. They even promised to give the maid her childhood room, which was filled with many happy memories. They didn't even consider how much that room meant to her, and they told her not to bother when she asked them where she would sleep when she returned to visit. They were happy that Lisa was no longer living with them, so they could spend quality time with their perfect family without any interruptions. Because her parents continued to prioritize Veronica's needs and wishes over Lisa's, poor Lisa felt even more abandoned and invisible. But Lisa took solace in her lucrative career as a gifted photographer. Her employment not only afforded her fantastic opportunity, but also allowed her to record gorgeous moments from different places throughout the world. From snapping images of rare creatures in Kenya to capturing the rich hues of India's festivities, Lisa's traveling excursions help her live an exciting life. She made an incredible amount of money while doing all of this. Lisa encountered significant individuals while traveling, such as well-known artists and innovative thinkers, which strengthened her relationships and influenced her own creative concepts. She had never felt like she belonged with her own family. But with these individuals, she truly felt like she did. Immersion in other cultures let Lisa discover the limitless richness of human relationships, which increased her understanding and wisdom. She also accomplished seemingly unachievable goals, such as having her work displayed in renowned galleries and appearing in reputable photography magazines. Even though her family situation was problematic, these events gave her a strong purpose and made her feel satisfied, making her enthusiasm for photographing the world's beauty with her photography even greater. Having had nothing to grow up with, Lisa swore herself that she would never accept deprivation of any type of pleasure. In fact, she aimed to fully enjoy life's pleasures. The money Lisa earned from her incredibly captivating and thought-provoking photographs was used to purchase a large, luxurious home on a stunning hilltop with a view of the glittering city lights. From dining at Michelin-star restaurants to going on expensive globe-trotting escapades, she could do whatever she wanted today, and she wouldn't squander a second of her valuable time wallowing in self-pity. She even made contact with the nanny, who had shown her affection when no one else had, and gave her weekly presents and monthly spa days. Now, Lisa was living the independent, happy life she had always dreamed of. She had achieved financial success and opened the door to a life that reflected her greatest dreams and ambitions by working tirelessly to develop her artistic abilities and documenting the world through her lens. She had no idea, however, that this was a far cry from the way her sister and parents were now living. You see, the amount of money Lisa's parents had spent on Veronica throughout the years was causing them to have severe financial difficulties. They lived beyond their means, went shopping at pricey boutiques, and took lavish trips, all of which contributed to their financial difficulties and near bankruptcy. They had to make some difficult decisions after realizing that their spending patterns could not be sustained. They had to sell some of their favorite items, such as their expensive automobiles and cherished horse, in an attempt to improve their financial circumstances, which was very upsetting for them. Additionally, they had to relocate from their large, opulent home to a tiny, claustrophobic apartment in a less attractive area. Desperation overwhelmed Lisa's parents, leading them to make audacious requests for financial assistance. Suddenly, they longed to hear from their first daughter, who they had ignored for the longest period. Initially, Lisa was moved by sympathy and the residual sense of responsibility, and she sent them a considerable quantity of money. They were, after all, her family. She believed that this would be the one nice thing she could do for them. However, the narrative did not finish there. Lisa's suspicions were raised when her parents requested even more, barely a week later. They claimed that they would require additional funds to ensure that they paid off all of their creditors because the money she had previously given them had not fully covered all of their obligations. However, Lisa couldn't get rid of a weird feeling. She began to feel duped and made the decision to look into it more, looking to social media for information. Lisa was completely taken aback when she saw Veronica's social media page, which included a plethora of lavish lives, expensive automobiles, and lavish family holidays. The website made it clear that her hard-earned money was being used to fund her sisters' and parents' luxurious lifestyles, while she seemed to be struggling financially. Lisa was deeply offended by what felt like a stab in the back and another insult. There was no way Lisa could fight them. She was too good-hearted and kind for that. However, her family was using the same sympathy and caring. The next time her relatives contacted to request more money, Lisa chose not to answer the phone because she was angry and felt deceived. She vowed to break free from their poisonous hold since she was sick of being exploited. Relationships don't operate that way, so they couldn't stop her from being a part of their life until they needed something. The months that came after were painful, as her parents had to deal with the aftermath of their careless spending. Despite all the money spent on her studies, Veronica couldn't finish university. She had to take up a waitressing job and sell half of her clothing, while her parents were forced to bid farewell to the final automobile in their possession and come clean to their friends. The community they had been proud part of many years swiftly rejected them, as was to be expected. After losing their employment, they were obliged to further reduce their expenses because they had no savings to fall back on. The only employment they could find were unfit for their attitude and lack of expertise at the lower echelons of the workforce, leaving them penniless and without money. They were having an even harder time of it now that Lisa was not returning their calls. Undoubtedly, they were in financial disaster, but Lisa didn't enjoy seeing her family fail. Knowing that she had overcome their exploitation and neglect gave her comfort. Lisa refused to let her situation define her, even though she had to overcome innumerable difficulties and barriers. She worked valiantly to create out a life for herself that was independent from the terrible atmosphere she had grown up in. Through sheer resolve, she moved ahead with her own route towards achievement, depending exclusively on her own efforts and hard work. Lisa enjoyed the bittersweet taste of success as she flourished in her chosen field, finally freed from the poisonous and onerous relationship that had hampered and wounded her for too long. Now it's your turn. How did you feel about this amazing story? Would you have been able to cut off your family's communication like Lisa did? As always, we would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, so please feel free to share them in the comments section below.